Good day. My name is Palan, and that's the name. And I'm from University of Cyberjaya, Malaysia. I'm sorry that I'm not able to be there personally, but it's indeed an honor and delight to be able to present at the second International Conference on Sustainable Education and Teaching at Hokkaido. And here I'll be sharing in the next couple of minutes some key ideas in fun teaching to improve learning outcomes in higher education. We want to explore as an introduction, and I'll list up just because we are in a virtual mode, the investigation or the study on the role of fun tools and active learning environments. And we want to frame it within the concept of play in enhancing learning outcomes in higher education. Over the last 2 decades, I've gone through several environments within Asia to try and study how we can improve learning outcomes. Traditional lecture methods, and we can compare them with interactive, technology-driven approaches using a mixed method design where I looked at qualitative and quantitative studies. And you were able to compare pre- and post-learning outcomes and evaluate how much learning gain have we been able to achieve. My findings indicated that learning outcomes improved substantially when lectures were supplemented with fun, participation, and technology-supported tools. Today, we live in a world of AI, and therefore we cannot run away from technology. We knew that from the COVID era, how we shifted from on-site classes to online classes, and then we just moved into some kind of an hybrid mode. Satya Nadella, the chairman of Microsoft, had this to say, that we have seen 2 years of change happen in 2 weeks with the use of technology. And that's important for us to understand how we can use some of these tools with one primary goal: to improve learning outcomes and higher education. I would like to share with you today a 5-step structured method for bringing in the concept of play, for bringing in fun into teaching, grounded in adult learning principles and mapped across 4 learning modalities. And I will share my formal paper with all of you later. The research concluded that fun, when purposely linked with content and learning objectives, acts as a catalyst to drive deeper cognitive engagement, retention, and transforming passive classrooms into dynamic spaces for learning and reflection. As I said in this introduction, it's very important for us to understand that good teaching makes a huge difference, as well-taught students are better than students who are not. Cross and Stedman identified the characteristics of good teaching methods. And we also find what Shulman and Hutchins said, that while teaching is considered a scholarly work, it should also be seen as a process of continuous inquiry and reflection. Therefore, I would like to share with you some ideas that's happening in the world of learning. I concluded in 1998 that successful teaching results in positive changes in cognitive, affective, and psychomotor domains. It improves learning retention and reduces learning time. The American Psychological Association, APA 1997, identified 14 principles. 2 of the 14 principles indicated that learning is achieved through a continuous process when students link new knowledge with their own experiences or existing knowledge. So therefore, it's very important for us to understand we need to integrate. And additionally, the student voice is important to improve the quality of learning. And therefore, the need for interaction is very critical. One major challenge has been the inability of some teachers to communicate their knowledge effectively to students, as Files said many years ago in his research. This could be attributed to many faculty members not receiving formal, systematic, pedagogical training to improve the teaching processes for improving learning outcomes. The constructive learning theory implies that many learners are not learning effectively when they are passive. One method consistently used to promote learner-centered learning is the incorporation of games and play with learning. Many studies link the concept of play with learning. For example, the famous psychologist Vygotsky talked about it very much early, why it's important. The relationship between play and learning has been important for constructive and healthy child development. And moving to the use of fun in pedagogy, Fincham highlighted that fun is an effective pedagogical tool. However, critics conclude that sometimes it can be a waste of learning time. But the research, as I'll show you, that it's only funny when it's irrelevant. But when fun is integrated with content, learning outcomes are huge. Now, Lorizala and Edmonds in 2022 described ludic pedagogy, and where they said this is a philosophy of emphasizing fun and enjoyable experiences with academic rigor. And they propose 4 elements, and I will use that here. They said it's fun is very important. They said play is very important, and playfulness is very important. And they also added on positivity is important, and that was the essence of ludic pedagogy. And learners are very involved when they perceive learning as something meaningful, and that's key. And also not to forget that active learners when active, they engage in higher order thinking skills, which is analysis, synthesis, evaluation, as described by Bloom's taxonomy. So to me, fun is a facilitative factor and content is a required condition. And I've always highlighted 3 components. And what are the 3 components? And I think it's very important for us to understand that it's the teacher, the fun tools are here, and the teacher is here, and the content is here. So it's very, very important for us to understand the 3 elements which is critical for effective learning outcomes. Now, if we teach today's students as we taught them yesterday, we rob them of tomorrow. And therefore, it's very critical for us to bring the concept of play with technology to improve the learning outcomes in higher education. The Singapore National Institute of Education developed what's known as a Legends of Alchemia, which was a student to learn chemistry through inquiry in a virtual world with high involvement and interaction. And therefore, it's important, and I cannot underestimate the importance of the use of play and fun learning in higher education. I'd like to share a little bit about the methods behind this research. And Of course, I used a mixed methods design to collect, analyze, and mix quantitative and qualitative data, following Creswell and Tashakori and Tedley, and I used a controlled experiment comparison. And the participants and setting, there were about 100 science stream students from 5 Asian countries: Malaysia, Indonesia, Singapore, United Arabs, and United Emirates, and India. Students were randomly assigned to control and experimental groups. The same instructor developed comparable science content to both groups in a standard 2-hour session. And the instruments were simple: learner satisfaction survey, which included 5 items: teacher preparation, delivery style, content understanding, learning variety, classroom collaboration, content knowledge test with 20 MCQs, and interview protocols were semi-structured. And of course, it was about 10 questions, and the interview duration was about 30 minutes with 10 students. And the procedure used was a control group with a didactic lecture, and we used the fun tools, which was an experimental condition, which was largely what we tried to use was crosswords. The use of crosswords, trying to deliver the content. And then, of course, we used a lecture game, which had some kind of a game format within a lecture. And of course, we had guided discussions. The discussions were guided. And of course, we had the PQ4R method: the preview, question, read, reflect, and recite. And then finally, we had mind maps. And these were primarily the 5 tools that was used with the 2 groups. And the results was impressive. It did give us some idea about the satisfaction survey and the learning gains. And the pre-test mean for both the groups was 40%. The post-test, kind of the control mean was 50%, experimental mean was 90%. And what I'm trying to say is the experimental group gains substantially exceeded the control group gains. And in terms of qualitative themes, we identified 3 themes: content, active learning, and classroom collaboration. And primarily we found, I think it was important for us to look at the qualitative themes and then proceed further. In the discussion, we found that the findings supported that integrating fun tools into lectures enhances student satisfaction and learning outcomes. And I think it's important to understand, as we found in the National Institute of Education, Singapore's Legends of Alchemia, they illustrated how inquiry-oriented play can align with curricular objectives. So in conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, all that I wanted to share with you is integrating fun tools and active learning structures yielded significant learning gains and higher satisfaction compared with the lecture-only delivery. And the content was not necessarily a constraint. Whatever the content is, we found that it's possible to integrate fun and play into it. But obviously, there is much more scope for us to look into other areas, because my research, particularly in this study, focus only on science subjects. Findings are promising, but replication with the larger samples, diverse disciplines, and longitudinal follow-ups is recommended. I think longitudinal follow-ups is very important. Practical implications include adopting structured, content-aligned fun tools and chunking lectures with planned interactions, and leveraging technology for scalable, game-based checks for understanding. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for listening to me, and it's been such an honor to be able to present at the second International Conference on Sustainable Teaching and Education, Hokkaido, Japan. I'm very happy to entertain and take questions. My email is available. The organizers will provide it to you. And if you email me, I'm very happy to respond to you. And I'll also send the organizers my paper, and they will share that with you. Thank you once again for listening to me. Thank you.